We're going to turn now to the future Queen Consort, Camilla. She's given a rare interview about her life with Prince Charles and how she has learned to cope with criticism after decades in the spotlight.
I speak to you today with feelings of profound sorrow. Throughout her life, Her Majesty the Queen.
A storm has erupted inside Buckingham Palace that nobody predicted. King Charles and Prince William have jointly delivered a bombshell announcement that left the entire nation speechless. Queen Camilla is being stripped of her solo royal responsibilities, effective immediately. This unprecedented move signals a seismic shift in the power dynamics of the British monarchy. What exactly pushed a father and son to take such drastic action against the woman who shares the throne? Stay with me, because what you are about to discover will shock you. The secret power play nobody noticed. Behind the glittering facade of royal life, a calculated transformation was taking place that escaped public attention for years. When King Charles finally claimed the crown after a lifetime of waiting,
groomed for decades, this was the moment King Charles waited for his entire life.
Camilla positioned herself as his devoted partner and unwavering support system. The world celebrated her remarkable journey from the most despised woman in Britain to a respected queen consort.
Once known as the other woman, Camilla is now the queen. Kind of. The new king's darling wife has become the queen consort.
However, what remained hidden from public view was far more complex and ultimately far more dangerous. Those early months of the new reign appeared picture-perfect to outside observers. Charles embraced his ceremonial duties, while Camilla launched cultural initiatives that garnered widespread admiration. Her literacy programs attracted praise from educators and intellectuals throughout the kingdom. Media coverage portrayed her as gracious, humble, and completely dedicated to worthy causes. The transformation seemed genuine, and the acceptance seemed complete. Nobody suspected that a different agenda was quietly unfolding behind palace doors. The changes began so gradually that even experienced courtiers failed to recognize the pattern emerging before their eyes. Routine requests that traditionally flowed directly to the sovereign now required preliminary approval from Camilla's personal team. Calendar adjustments increasingly reflected her preferences rather than established protocol. Invitation lists for intimate gatherings passed through her inner circle before reaching the king for final review. Each modification appeared insignificant when examined in isolation, but patterns reveal themselves to those patient enough to observe. Staff members who had served multiple monarchs began exchanging concerned glances during meetings. They witnessed authority that belonged exclusively to the sovereign migrating steadily toward his wife. The migration happened so smoothly that objecting seemed petty. After all, she was simply helping her husband manage overwhelming responsibilities. What harm could possibly come from such devoted assistance? Camilla constructed a formidable network of absolutely loyal supporters around herself. These trusted allies had weathered her darkest years and remained unshakably committed to her vision of royal life. They gathered frequently for informal sessions that appeared on no official schedule. Behind closed doors, they strategized about everything from media manipulation to heritage management. What began as friendly support evolved into something resembling a parallel power structure operating alongside the legitimate monarchy. The king's deteriorating health created perfect conditions for this expansion of influence. Medical advisors recommended that Charles reduce his workload significantly to preserve his strength.
The king's motorcade was spotted leaving Clarence House. He's heading out of London for the weekend. The palace says the king's side effects prompted doctors to bring him in for observation, and he had to cancel some events as a precaution.
This professional guidance opened doors that Camilla walked through without hesitation. She represented him at gatherings he previously attended personally. She examined documents he no longer possessed energy to review thoroughly. Every accommodation appeared reasonable given his medical circumstances. Palace employees who dared question these arrangements discovered unpleasant consequences awaiting them. Those who raised concerns found themselves transferred to insignificant positions far from centers of power. Their objections were characterized as misunderstandings or stubborn resistance to necessary modernization. A clear hierarchy emerged within the household. Supporting Camilla's agenda meant career advancement and royal favor. Challenging her methods meant professional destruction and permanent exile from influence. Princess Anne observed these troubling developments with mounting fury. 5 decades of devoted service had taught her exactly where institutional boundaries belonged. The patterns she witnessed reminded her of historical precedents that invariably ended in catastrophe for everyone involved. She attempted discussing her concerns privately with Charles during family gatherings, but her brother refused to entertain criticism of the woman he loved. His defensive reactions only deepened her conviction that serious trouble loomed ahead. William and Catherine maintained strategic silence throughout this troubling period. They recognized that directly confronting Camilla would ignite family warfare that could devastate public confidence in the monarchy. Instead, they quietly compiled observations and documents concerning incidents while waiting for circumstances that would justify action. That opportunity arrived sooner than anticipated when a supposedly routine administrative matter exposed the staggering extent of Camilla's unauthorized reach. Autumn brought intensified examination of royal heritage operations following irregularities discovered during standard reviews. Investigators found troubling gaps in how certain valuable items were being cataloged and monitored. Ordinarily, such matters would be resolved quietly through established professional channels. But this time, Camilla's personal office inserted itself into the process in ways that blatantly violated long-standing procedures. Inquiries that deserved straightforward answers were diverted to private consultants possessing no legitimate authority. This brazen intervention triggered alarm bells throughout the institution. The specific items involved mattered far less than the dangerous principle being established. A queen consort had overridden systems specifically designed to protect irreplaceable royal assets. The monarchy depends entirely on clear hierarchies and transparent accountability. When those foundational boundaries become negotiable, the entire structure begins crumbling. Senior figures finally concluded that remaining silent would constitute betrayal of everything they had sworn to protect. The evidence accumulated during these investigations painted a devastating portrait of systematic overreach. Documents revealed decisions made without proper authorization. Communications showed directives issued under false pretenses. Financial records exposed expenditures that bypassed normal approval processes. Each discovery strengthened the case that Camilla had constructed an alternative power center operating beyond legitimate oversight. The question was no longer whether problems existed, but rather how extensively the damage had spread. The night that shattered the illusion. November descended upon London, carrying accumulated tension that threatened to explode at any moment. The Festival of Remembrance at the Royal Albert Hall represented perhaps the most sacred tradition in the royal calendar. This solemn ceremony, honoring fallen heroes, demanded absolute focus on sacrifice and service. Personal ambitions had no rightful place in such hallowed proceedings. Yet what transpired that fateful evening would shatter illusions that could never be reconstructed. Arrangements for this prestigious event had been coordinated primarily through Camilla's office rather than traditional sovereign channels. She personally dictated seating configurations and orchestrated every movement the royal family would make throughout the ceremony. Her team controlled camera positioning and ensured that coverage would broadcast precisely the image she intended the world to witness. Nothing was left to chance because everything served her calculated purpose. When the royal motorcade delivered Charles and Camilla to the venue, keen observers detected something disturbing in their physical interaction. The king appeared exhausted and emotionally withdrawn, while his wife projected commanding confidence. She steered him through entrances and strategically positioned herself prominently during pivotal moments. Casual viewers interpreted this as loving support for a struggling husband. Trained analysts recognized a demonstration of dominance disguised as devotion. The ceremony proceeded with appropriate solemnity on its surface. veterans received honors they richly deserved. Traditional hymns echoed through the magnificent hall. Prayers lifted heavenward for those who surrendered their lives defending freedom. But throughout these sacred proceedings, Camilla's commanding presence continuously overshadowed her husband. She occupied forward positions in group arrangements. Her expressions of reverence attracted disproportionate camera attention. The visual narrative contradicted constitutional reality regarding who actually wore the crown. Princess Anne attended this ceremony and absorbed everything transpiring before her furious eyes. She had sacrificed her entire adult existence, serving the monarchy with selfless dedication. Witnessing someone exploit a sacred occasion for personal glorification violated every principle she held dear about royal responsibility. She departed the venue absolutely determined to force a confrontation that could no longer be postponed, regardless of personal consequences. That same evening, Anne traveled urgently to Kensington Palace, demanding an immediate audience with William. She carried documentation compiled painstakingly over many months. Page after page detailed procedural violations, unauthorized decisions, and behavioral patterns that collectively constructed an undeniable case for intervention. William listened intently as his aunt methodically presented her evidence. He had suspected much of this independently, but hearing comprehensive confirmation eliminated any remaining hesitation. Their conversation extended deep into the night hours. They analyzed risks associated with action versus dangers inherent in continued passivity. They contemplated how the British public might respond and how future historians might evaluate their choices. They acknowledged that confronting Camilla meant potentially destroying their relationship with Charles permanently. But they agreed unanimously that protecting the institution demanded difficult decisions regardless of personal sacrifice involved. William contacted his father the following morning, insisting upon a private meeting without delay. Charles initially resisted, instinctively sensing that the requested conversation would involve criticism of his beloved wife. But William pressed forward with unusual intensity. The matters requiring discussion permitted no postponement and tolerated no delegation to intermediaries. The king reluctantly consented to meet at Windsor, where they could converse without interruption or unauthorized observation. The encounter between father and son proved emotionally devastating for both participants. William presented the comprehensive evidence Anne had assembled alongside his own independent observations, accumulated over years. He addressed his father respectfully, but refused to soften uncomfortable truths. He questioned whether profound love for Camilla had rendered Charles incapable of perceiving problems that others witnessed clearly every day. Charles mounted a vigorous defense of his wife initially. He insisted that Camilla acted solely from devotion to him and dedication to preserving the crown. He characterized her expanded involvement as essential support during his health challenges. He expressed wounded feelings that his own son would question the motivations of someone who had stood faithfully beside him through decades of criticism and difficulty. These emotional arguments carried substantial weight given their shared history. But William refused to retreat from his position. He acknowledged Camilla's genuine qualities and her authentic affection for Charles without reservation. He was not alleging malicious intent, but rather demonstrating dangerous overreach. Admirable intentions could not excuse actions that systematically undermined institutional boundaries. The monarchy simply could not function properly when any individual, regardless of position or relationship, operated beyond established accountability structures. These represented facts that transcended personal emotions entirely. The decisive breakthrough occurred when Princess Anne joined the conversation, adding her formidable voice to the argument. Her perspective carried authority that even Charles could not easily dismiss or ignore. She invoked their mother's example and her lifelong commitment to constitutional propriety. She reminded him that Elizabeth maintained absolute boundaries between her sovereign role and Philip's supportive position, despite their profound partnership and deep love.
Britain's Queen Elizabeth and her husband Prince Philip enjoyed possibly the longest royal romance in history. It began over 80 years ago.
The crown required such discipline without exception. Abandoning that discipline meant abandoning everything their family had constructed across generations. Charles finally agreed to examine the documented evidence with fresh perspective, unclouded by defensive instincts. What he discovered shattered his previous certainties completely. Patterns emerged that he had previously rationalized as coincidence or misinterpretation. He discovered his own signature affixed to documents he possessed no memory of reviewing. He uncovered decisions attributed to his authority that he had never actually authorized. The devastating realization transformed everything he believed about his marriage. The verdict that rocked the monarchy. The hours following Charles's painful awakening progressed with agonizing clarity. He requested solitude to process the overwhelming revelations and contemplate appropriate responses. His most trusted advisors presented options spanning from quiet internal adjustments to formal public acknowledgement. Every available path carried significant risks and demanded substantial sacrifices. No option existed that avoided considerable consequence for the institution and for his family. Camilla sensed the atmospheric shift immediately through her extensive network embedded throughout the palace. Her informants reported unusual meetings convening without her knowledge and communications, bypassing her oversight entirely. She requested an audience with her husband, but received the unprecedented response that he was unavailable to meet with her. This rejection, entirely without precedent in their relationship, confirmed her darkest suspicions. Whatever was unfolding would not resolve itself through her usual methods of charm and explanation. The confrontation, when it finally materialized, proved surprisingly brief, despite. Charles received Camilla in a private sitting room with only essential witnesses present. He placed the assembled evidence before her and requested simply an honest explanation. She examined the materials with visible tension, her legendary composure fragmenting visibly for the first time anyone could remember. The woman who had mastered emotional control for decades suddenly appeared vulnerable and exposed. Her defense strategy centered on themes of protection and preservation of the institution she claimed to love. She maintained that every action was undertaken to shield Charles from unnecessary stress and safeguard the monarchy from potential embarrassment. She had witnessed how criticism wounded him emotionally and desperately wanted to spare him avoidable burdens. If established procedures were occasionally circumvented, it was only because following them rigidly would have created delays serving no constructive purpose. Charles absorbed her explanation without interruption, allowing her to complete her defense fully. When she finished speaking, he responded with evident sorrow rather than the anger she perhaps expected. He believed her intentions originated from genuine love and concern for him. But intentions, however admirable, could not erase consequences already set in motion. The monarchy survived across centuries through unwavering adherence to principles that no individual could be permitted to override regardless of position. Not even a queen, not even his wife. This response represented not punishment. The joint statement from Charles and William required several days of careful drafting and revision. Every word was selected deliberately to communicate firmness without unnecessary cruelty. The announcement would characterize Camilla's withdrawal as administrative restructuring rather than disciplinary sanction. Her titles would remain completely intact. Her personal dignity would be scrupulously preserved. But her operational authority within palace affairs would be eliminated comprehensively and permanently. William's participation in this statement carried profound symbolic significance beyond its practical implications. It demonstrated unbreakable unity between the reigning sovereign and his designated heir. It signaled that the next generation of royal leadership stood absolutely aligned on questions of institutional integrity. It also transmitted an unmistakable warning to anyone who might contemplate similar expansion of unauthorized influence in the future. The monarchy would defend itself against threats from any direction, including from within. The evening the statement reached the public, London seemed to suspend breathing collectively. News anchors dissected each phrase while commentators offered competing interpretations of its significance. Some perceived appropriate correction of genuine and dangerous overreach. Others detected harsh punishment of a woman whose only crime was trying to help her struggling husband. Public reaction fractured along lines reflecting broader attitudes toward the monarchy itself and the proper role of royal consorts. Inside Clarence House, Camilla absorbed the announcement in complete solitude. Her staff had been reassigned to other duties. Her calendar had been cleared of all engagements. The elaborate machinery of her influence was being dismantled with ruthless efficiency. She reportedly spent hours examining portraits of previous royal consorts, perhaps searching for precedents, or perhaps simply contemplating how dramatically her circumstances had transformed in mere days. The Queen's retreat from public visibility commenced immediately and completely. She canceled every upcoming engagement without exception and declined all media requests regardless of source. Her charitable initiatives were transferred to other royal patrons who would continue the work under different leadership. The literacy campaign she had constructed with such dedication and care would survive, but under entirely new direction. Everything she had built across years was being redistributed within days as though she had never existed. Princess Anne embraced expanded responsibilities with her characteristic efficiency and dedication.
I'm always quite intrigued by Princess Anne. I know she's representing the Queen partially along with Prince Charles at the Trooping the Colour, and she's a very hard-working royal.
She brought 5 decades of institutional experience to heritage oversight and immediately established clear protocols preventing any repetition of recent irregularities. Her approach emphasized transparency and meticulous documentation at every level. Nothing significant would occur without appropriate authorization, and nothing would be concealed from legitimate review processes ever again. The monarchy projected a unified face to global observers throughout this turbulent transition period. Official communications emphasized continued respect for Camilla as a valued family member, despite changed circumstances. Private reality proved considerably more complex and painful than public statements acknowledged. Relationships cultivated across decades now strained beyond easy repair. Trust once shattered requires generations of patient reconstruction before full restoration becomes possible. Charles continued fulfilling his duties with visible determination, despite evident personal anguish weighing upon him constantly. He appeared at scheduled engagements and completed ceremonial obligations without complaint. But observers noted a heaviness pervading his demeanor that had been absent previously. Every gesture revealed the tremendous cost of choosing institution over individual, duty over love, crown over heart. The sacrifice was written across his face for anyone perceptive enough to read it. William and Catherine dramatically increased their public visibility during this challenging period.
The royal family is slowly returning to some sense of normality, with Prince William undertaking his first public duty since Princess Catherine revealed her cancer diagnosis.
They represented continuity and stability, while the senior generation navigated painful adjustments behind closed doors. Their appearances projected confidence that the monarchy would emerge stronger from this crisis than it entered. Whether that confidence reflected genuine belief or performance for public reassurance remained impossible to determine from outside observation. The dramatic downfall of Queen Camilla delivers lessons extending far beyond gilded palace walls into our everyday lives. It demonstrates that influence accumulated gradually can evaporate just as gradually when accountability finally arrives. It proves that noble intentions cannot justify actions violating the trust others place in our hands. And it reveals that even those reaching the highest positions must ultimately answer to principles larger than their personal desires. The monarchy will endure as it always has through centuries of crisis and transformation. The crown will eventually pass to new hands, continuing the ancient succession. But this extraordinary chapter will remain permanently inscribed in historical records as a stark reminder of what happens when boundaries dissolve and accountability becomes optional. Camilla sought to protect the throne she loved. Instead, she became the very threat that the throne required protection against. If this story captivated your attention, smash that like button and share your honest perspective in the comments section below. Do you believe Camilla received justice or suffered injustice? Powerful enough to spark waves of speculation. Many wondered, was this the first public sign of Parkinson's disease? A condition that, once diagnosed, can alter even the smallest movements, stripping away the composure that Charles has long maintained. The palace itself remained guarded, releasing only the barest confirmations. First, his battle with cancer in February 2024. Then, this revelation of Parkinson's and COPD. But beyond those few details, silence. And in that silence, speculation flourished. Analysts, commentators, and ordinary citizens turned to social media, filling in the blanks with theories and questions. If the palace was not disclosing the full truth, what were they holding back? And why? Amidst this atmosphere of uncertainty, Catherine's role emerged as the most unexpected revelation of all. She did not seek the spotlight in that moment, yet it found her. When Charles turned his words toward her, entrusting her with duties far beyond ceremony, her quiet tears told the story more eloquently than words ever could. To many, she appeared not as a princess shielded by privilege, but as a woman suddenly called upon to carry the weight of history. Her resilience, shaped by her own battles with illness, had quietly prepared her for this role. And Charles saw it. He had watched her endure, recover, and emerge with both strength and empathy intact. For the king, the decision was about trust. Trust that Catherine could embody continuity at a time when continuity itself seemed fragile. Trust that her connection with the people, rooted not in protocol, but in authenticity, could steady the monarchy through stormy waters. Yet not everyone accepted the decision without hesitation. Why bypass William, the rightful heir? Why place such responsibility on Catherine's shoulders? The debate erupted immediately, but one figure quickly stepped forward to silence doubts. Princess Anne. Anne, the king's sister, has long been known as the hardest-working royal, the steadfast presence who carries out duty without fanfare. Her reputation for honesty and discipline has made her a trusted voice both inside the palace and among the public. And when Charles announced his decision, it was Anne's support that gave it unshakable weight. Those close to the family describe Anne as the monarchy's backbone, a woman whose loyalty to her brother has never wavered. She has stood beside Charles through decades of service, through triumphs and trials alike. She has seen his health falter and admired his courage in facing decline with honesty. And she understood, better than most, why this moment demanded something unconventional. Her endorsement of Catherine's new role was more than a sister's loyalty. It was a statement of unity, a reassurance to the public that this was not just ceremonial, but necessary. Publicly, she praised Catherine's grace and grit. Privately, her influence smoothed doubts and reassured skeptics. If Anne, the no-nonsense Princess Royal, supported this transfer of power, then it carried legitimacy beyond debate. In many ways, her support was strategic. She knew that moments of uncertainty could fracture trust. By aligning herself visibly with her brother's choice, she closed those cracks before they widened. She appeared alongside Charles at engagements, projecting solidarity, reminding the nation that the royal family is strongest when it moves as one. At 74, Anne still shoulders hundreds of engagements each year, her dedication unmatched. That she continues this relentless pace while backing her brother's bold move only underscores her devotion. She is not merely standing behind Charles, she is steadying the crown itself, ensuring that Catherine steps into her new responsibilities with dignity and the full support of the Windsor family. but questions remain. Was Anne's unwavering support simply about loyalty, or was it also about clearing the path for Catherine's rise? Was this unity carefully orchestrated to ensure the monarchy's survival during its most fragile chapter? What is certain is that Charles's announcement, his painful honesty about his health, and his trust in Catherine have already shifted the balance of royal power. And while much of the story remains hidden behind palace walls, one truth cannot be denied: the monarchy will never be the same again. Behind the palace walls, a bond forged in struggle. What the public saw on that historic day was only part of the story. Behind the grandeur of Buckingham Palace and away from the cameras, a more intimate chapter had been unfolding, one that explains why King Charles placed his trust so firmly in Catherine. At Sandringham, in the quiet of those sprawling halls, Charles first confided in her. Their conversations often stretched long into the night, not dressed in ceremony, but carried by silence, pauses, and words too heavy for the public to hear. He did not want pity. Those closest to him explained. He wanted understanding, and Catherine, more than anyone, understood. Her own journey through illness had left scars that gave her insight no title could grant. Diagnosed with cancer in March 2024 and declared in remission less than a year later.
Kate Middleton now diagnosed with cancer and undergoing chemotherapy.
She had lived through the exhaustion, the fear, and the anxiety of uncertainty. Even as her health improved, the lingering dread of relapse shadowed her days. Yet she never hid these truths, speaking openly about the realities of recovery and connecting with millions who had faced the same path. So when Charles admitted his diagnosis, Catherine recognized it instantly: the tremor in his voice, the dread that seeps into every update from a doctor, the quiet hope battling with fear. In her, he found not only a confidant, but a fellow survivor, someone who could meet his vulnerability with silent solidarity. Over late-night teas, slow walks in the gardens, and long hours spent in reflective stillness, the two forged a bond beyond royal duty. Charles had admired Catherine for years, once calling her "my rock" as she fought through her own illness. Now, as his own strength faltered, he leaned on that same steadiness. This was not merely a king's decision. It was a personal act of trust, born from shared nights of doubt and resilience. When the moment came for him to speak those words before the nation, entrusting her with sovereignty, Catherine stood poised and elegant in her navy coat. To the cameras, she was flawless, a picture of composure. But those standing closer saw the truth. Her hands trembled slightly. Her eyes glistened with unshed tears. And when she finally stepped out of the spotlight, her muffled sobs revealed what the world did not see: heartbreak for the king she admired, and awe at the responsibility she was now called to bear. Friends later said Catherine was both honored and overwhelmed. To the public, the announcement was a constitutional shift. To the family, it was far more personal: a father figure turning to a daughter-in-law, asking her to carry a legacy because he believed she could. And that belief, born from shared struggles, is now reshaping the monarchy itself. The future, shaped by trust and resilience. When Charles named Catherine as his chosen successor, it shocked the world. For centuries, tradition had dictated that the direct heir, William, would inherit the crown. But this decision was not about sidelining the prince. Insiders revealed it was about timing, necessity, and survival. William already carried immense responsibility as Prince of Wales, guiding his young family, preparing for his eventual reign, and supporting his wife through her recovery. His role was one of long-term stability, but the immediate crisis required something else. Charles saw in Catherine a unique strength, a figure capable of bridging the present uncertainty with resilience and authenticity. Her personal journey was at the heart of this choice. Catherine's battle with cancer transformed her from a royal figure.
Now, in the United Kingdom, Catherine, the Princess of Wales, has announced that she has cancer and is undergoing chemotherapy. Her condition was disclosed in a video message. This follows weeks of speculation about her whereabouts and her health since she was admitted to hospital in January.
Into a symbol of human endurance. By speaking openly about her fears, her exhaustion, and the challenges of recovery, she had built an extraordinary bond with the public. She was no longer just a princess admired for grace. She had become a woman whose honesty inspired millions. This bond gave her moral authority that protocol alone could never achieve. Charles recognized it, and he knew the monarchy needed it. By entrusting her with power, he was not only preserving tradition, he was adapting it to survive in a modern world. Behind palace doors, their bond grew stronger. Charles admired her courage, her kindness, her ability to face fear with dignity. He saw in her not only a future queen consort, but a leader who could guide the monarchy through fragile times. For him, this was not just strategy, it was deeply personal. William, far from resisting, embraced the decision. Those close to the family say he saw it as both a tribute to his father and recognition of his wife's strength. Together, William and Catherine approached the shift as partners, balancing his steadiness with her empathy, presenting themselves as a united force ready to steady the crown. It was a bold departure from tradition, but one that signaled the monarchy's willingness to evolve. Catherine did not view it as breaking precedent, but as answering a calling, her humanity making her the right choice for the moment. The impact rippled across the royal household. At the press conference, William stood close to his father, his expression steady yet layered with emotions, admiration for Catherine, sorrow for Charles, and awareness that his own role was edging closer. Camilla, standing beside Charles, laid a quiet hand on his arm, her gesture speaking volumes. Her own health battles, nagging foot pain and a history of pneumonia, had made her familiar with fragility. Yet she carried herself with serene composure, offering Catherine practical guidance drawn from years of public scrutiny. Behind closed doors, she became a mentor, sharing hard-earned wisdom with compassion. For the younger royals, the changes carried personal meaning. George, Charlotte, and Louis adore their grandfather. They cherish the moments in the garden, the bedtime stories, the laughter he brings even during hospital visits. Catherine, determined to protect them from the full weight of unfolding events, shields them as best she can. Charlotte, perceptive beyond her years, has begun to ask tender questions about her grandfather's health. Her quiet embrace at a recent gathering moved William to tears. George, stepping into a growing awareness of his future, often checks on his mother, his protective gestures reflecting his father's instincts. And Louis, with his boundless mischief, provides bursts of joy, his laughter reminding everyone, even Charles, that there is light even in dark moments. Beyond the immediate family, the wider circle of royals has rallied. Princess Anne continues her steadfast support, while the Duke of Edinburgh offers quiet solidarity. Together, they reinforce the strength of the institution, reminding the nation that this is not just about a crown, it is about a family united by love, duty, and devotion. Catherine's new path, a crown shaped by humanity. Catherine's tears on that day were not weakness. They were proof of a heart deeply tied to both family and duty. Her resilience has never been about perfection. It has always been about rising, again and again, with dignity. Her recovery from cancer was not a straight line. Even after remission, she spoke candidly about the exhaustion, the anxiety, and the lingering fear. That honesty turned her into a figure of quiet authority, someone who connected with the public not through grandeur, but through authenticity. She showed that healing is not flawless, and in that truth, people found strength. Her resilience thrives in simple joys, baking messy cupcakes with her children, walking through Kensington Gardens, or playing piano at home. These small moments ground her more than royal ceremonies ever could. Friends say she is not striving to be perfect, she is striving to be present. And that is where her true strength lies. This same authenticity follows her into public life. At a charity event earlier this year, she told patients in remission, "I'm still learning every day." Simple words, yet powerful, because they came from a place of lived truth. Observers note that this honesty has shifted her image from graceful princess to leader of quiet influence. Charles saw this Catherine, the one who could unite people in times of uncertainty, and chose to entrust her with sovereignty. Within the palace, her presence now steadies both William and Charles. She has become their anchor, guiding through practical wisdom and emotional strength. Even her children draw from her quiet resilience. Charlotte mirrors her composure, George grows into protective awareness, and Louis clings to her instinctively, trusting in her steadiness. Her years of quiet preparation, through diplomacy, public duties, and personal trials, have shaped her into a figure both compassionate and strategic. Her tears for Charles revealed her love, but beneath them was determination. The resolve of a woman who never sought the spotlight, yet now carries it with grace. And now, her path stretches forward into uncharted territory. Charles's announcement reshaped the monarchy instantly, sparking debate across Britain and beyond. Some hailed Catherine as the modern figure the monarchy desperately needed. Others questioned whether William's role had been overshadowed. Yet those closest to the family insist this was not exclusion, but partnership. William supported the decision, determined to protect Catherine and honor his father's trust. Together, they present a vision of monarchy that evolves with the times, balancing heritage with humanity. Catherine herself is shaping her role intentionally. Advisors reveal she is focusing on causes close to her heart: mental health, children's well-being, and environmental sustainability, echoing Charles's lifelong passion. Her approach reflects a monarchy that adapts rather than resists change. And through it all, she remains grounded. School runs, family dinners, quiet walks in the garden, these remind her that she is first a mother, then a royal. Her strength lies not in detachment, but in connection. The monarchy now stands at a fragile yet hopeful crossroads. Charles's health remains uncertain. Catherine's rise signals both change and continuity. And William's unwavering support ensures that when the time comes, the crown will rest on steady shoulders. But one question remains, hanging over the nation like a cloud. Can Catherine truly carry the monarchy through its most fragile chapter while balancing her role as mother, wife, and now, chosen sovereign? That is the story still being written. And now, we turn the question to you. What do you think of Catherine's unprecedented rise? Has Charles made the right decision in placing his trust in her? Share your thoughts below. And as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. And subscribe for more. And subscribe for more.